We're going to be looking at Nigeria at 56, quite an old man or woman or being whatever it is you want to term the country as. And we celebrated our independence yesterday, and we did have a speech from Mr. President. Other people were not necessarily inspired by it, but I mean, people call it just the regular rhetoric from the president. It's a very hard time to be having any celebrations at all with regards to Nigeria. We're in a recession, and if for nothing else, that calls for serious, sober reflection. But I have here with me two people who are going to help me tackle all of the issues around our independence. Chidi Okeke, thanks for being here today.
Thank you.
And of course, Jude Bass, thanks for coming. I'm going to start with the sports question as well. What Nigerian team do you support? If you support any. Enyimba. You have to think about it.
No. I mean, the hesitation was just to, emphasize.
You do know that they had a terrible season, though, don't you?
Well, I'm from Abia State. Abba is like.
Okay, so you support based on weight because.
And the fact that at one time in Africa they dominated, they really did well, and I mean, that's when my fanship started.
Okay, are you going to tell me congratulations? I know it's a
Congrats.
What team do you support?
I support Arsenal.
Not no Nigerian team?
I'm looking for one to adopt, if you have suggestions.
If we win, we have won the league, so I'm not taking any members anymore because people are not going to want to come around. And I'm not sure about that. Arsenal bad luck.
I'm looking for one.
Arsenal fans are going to come from it. Let's move on now to the independence. Nigeria is 56. The economy, I think before the election, most people didn't think that was going to be the main issue that would shape Mr. President. People thought it would be the security issues. I mean, that was the biggest thing bugging President Jonathan at the time. The Northeast was boiling. There was terrorism basically ravaging the land. The economy wasn't great, but I mean, people didn't think that would be the biggest issue. And in less than a year, it's pretty much going to shape President Buhari's presidency. And at 56, we're in a recession. For the first time in about 3 decades, I believe. How do we get here? How are we going to get out of it? I mean, of course, it's not worth celebrating. What happens when we're 57, you think?
Okay, so first of all, Nigeria at 56 is quite embarrassing because the 56-year-old president should be acting more mature, basically. So Nigeria is behaving like a toddler, and it's actually disappointing. It's actually quite disappointing. Well, we're here basically. How did we get here? How did we get to this point where security is not even the biggest issue anymore, but then the economy? Before the elections, it was obvious that the country was going to encounter economic issues. Not recession per se. I mean, recession seemed like.
We knew tough times were coming.
Yeah, we knew tough times were going to come. So we needed basically. I personally know. I'm not going to talk for other people. I personally know that the president we had wasn't necessarily the guy who was very, very economically brilliant or fantastic or all that. But we're counting on him to put people in positions.
We're told the vice president was going to be in charge of that.
Yeah, in charge of that and all that. I mean, this is the guy who's a professor, a law professor. This is a guy who's well learned. This is a president who expected to have a vibrant team to work the economy and all that. But we're disappointed that how many months into his administration he had not yet picked his team and all that. And that was the first sign that indeed this country was going to encounter very, very hard times. It's unfortunate that the recession has eventually happened. Price of things have skyrocketed. The naira is virtually turning into paper. I mean, it's ridiculous how bad things have turned out. On the plus side, security has really, really improved, especially those in the Northeast.
Yeah.
I mean, while we are complaining about all this, these guys who are returning to their homes are quite happy that in the end they've come back to their homes and they're not getting killed and all that. In the end, where there's life, there's hope. So, despite the fact that we've gotten into this recession, hopefully, we're going to get out of it. I cannot see a way we'll get out of it. I cannot. I don't know if anybody can see a way we can get out of it because those who are in charge of making these decisions are not doing anything. Are they doing anything? Maybe they are, but they're not letting us know what they're doing. They're not calming freeze. They're not shaping perception, letting people know that things are going to get better. Yeah. And it's quite sad. It's quite unfortunate.
I mean, Jude, he did talk about that. I mean, we saw it coming. Mr. President, of course, has put out a team. People have said, well, the team is not as bad as we're making it out to be. We have a pretty much sound Minister of Finance. We have a CBN governor who he didn't even appoint. I mean, he was there before he came in. So the economic team might not be the worst. Mr. President continues to let us know that, I mean, the previous administrations have put us in the situation that we are. Even on Friday, I think there was a book launch at the villa where he
can't stop blaming.
Yeah, he said he needs to keep reminding Nigerians that this didn't happen because of him.
Yeah.
Was there a way this could have been stopped? Because that's what people are saying. I mean, why was this not handled differently? People have referenced President Obasanjo when he came in. Oil was even lower than it is now. There was even less savings in our foreign reserves, but we didn't go into recession. Are things different? Were things different then from now? Was this preventable? I mean, should we actually not blame President Buhari for this?
He has to take a share of the blame because, like we've said over and over again, he spent so much time in naming his team. You know, this is somebody who knew. I mean, before he came in, the price of oil in the international market had been going down. He knew that he was inheriting this problem, but he was practically. He said he was going to hit the ground running, and then he hit the ground and slept on it. You know, the biggest issue I had with him. You know, so he had time. It's not like any other president won't have had this problem, but there was no urgency. There was this inertia about the entire thing, and it was like nothing was happening until. And then the price of oil kept going down, and the naira. He took time to devalue. He took time to deregulate, and so I mean, I don't know how to put it, but he was sluggish. I mean, at the beginning, I think things have changed. Things have picked up pace. And talking about the economic team, I think they're quite good. I think they'll get their acts together as time goes on.
Are you more hopeful than him? You say he doesn't see how we're going to get out of this.
Yeah, maybe because they're not communicating enough. But I think they're doing some work. I'll give them some credit. In the last few months, we've seen some changes in terms of the tempo of the administration with regards to the economy. So I give and take. I think things will improve.
But actually, coming to what he said, it's actually very true because I mean, if you can't sit down with one or two Nigerians for more than 5 minutes these days and not talk about the economy and President Buhari and where we are. It's a conversation everybody has these days. And the one thing I've actually heard everybody say almost unanimously is the fact that there doesn't seem to be a plan. We haven't heard how or when or what's going to happen after this. Is there a plan to come out of the recession? What is the plan? Are we hearing anything of that sort?
The last we heard was that recession was just a word, even though that has been addressed. But I think the biggest plan, which I hope is actually on the drawing table in the economic team, is that we have to diversify. And
but that's very long term.
Yeah, it's short, medium, and long term because we are beginning to see that the anchor borrowers program is beginning to yield fruits. I mean, like in Kebbi State, we are looking at the harvest and all of that in terms of getting agriculture and all of that. So I think with the harvest coming, we'll begin to see some signs that look, we are actually because we don't have a choice. It's either you diversify or die. So this is. I think for me, this is a good opportunity for Nigeria to actually move out of being an oil economy, a monoproduct economy, to actually, because we don't have a choice. So it's actually a blessing in disguise that this is happening. Because
I think we all know that, but it's the how that I think a lot of people want to know, the how and when and if.
Which is my biggest problem, basically. I mean, there should be a timeline. Who are the economists creating this timeline of, okay, so month one, recession was declared 2 months ago, last month, the next 3 months, this is what we're going to do. The next 6 months, this is where we'll be. This is where we hope to be. And these are the plans. These are the things we're going to do to get to this point. Diversification, diversification is key. And that is great. That is fantastic. But agriculture, how long do crops take before they grow, before they get into that place where they can be harvested and then they can generate revenue for the country? These are long-term things. Okay, so there's technology, which is a big deal, which is becoming a big deal. I mean, Mark Zuckerberg visited and he went to the tech community and all that, which is one of the things to be thankful for this year, though. How are we helping to grow the technology industry in Nigeria? How are we working to grow it? To start a business, for a young person to start a business, the process is messed up. I was trying to register a small thing I had on the side with corporate affairs, and it was tedious. It was really, really tedious, and the option I had was just to do my business on the side and make money and not pay tax to the system. But I wanted to do it that way. I wanted to make everything legal, and many people are trying to develop businesses, but then they are not getting.
There's so many bottlenecks.
The environment is not enabling enough, which is part of the problem. There are so many people who want to make the system work, who want to make the system work in their own way, but making the system work is quite tough because the system that guides these things, the laws that guide these things, they are very, very difficult to go around.
Speaking of some of the issues that, of course, Mr. President is encountering, and something that has probably been part of Nigeria's problems from independence, which he also campaigned on, promising that he was going to change, was communication. I know that people have been wondering why. The one thing he actually criticized President Jonathan the most about was the fact that Nigerians were never really in the know of what was happening. Are you seeing anything different? Has anything been different in the last year with regards to that?
No, it's practically the same, if not worse, because we have a president who rarely talks to the local media. We only get things, we only get to hear from him when he's out of the country. And then we have his team who do not know how to react to things, basically, and they say the damnedest things at the wrongest times. So it's the communication is even worse. It's worse than it was in the Jonathan era, because the president doesn't even, except he has a media chat on TV, he practically doesn't speak to Nigerians. And there are so many issues he should react himself and not wait for his spokespersons. But he doesn't do that.
And even the spokesperson sometimes, it shouldn't be all on Twitter sometimes. Sometimes you wonder, critical national issues where you would expect a press briefing or conference, and you see 8-9 tweets, and it ends with that. Are you happy with the model that's been employed?
I'm not at all. I'm not at all. If the government, the presidency understands how important communication is, I think they will do better. I think the people who are actually communicating for the president, honestly, when they were appointed, I was happy. I have to be very honest. I was happy, but now I think I'm quite disappointed. I'm quite disappointed with the gaps in communication. These are guys who criticized the last administration based on communication. They knew all the problems. It is one thing to just come in and then you have to start thinking about what works and what doesn't work. But these guys, they knew all the problems. They knew all the gaps the last administration had. They should have plugged all these things. They should have let the people know. It is not difficult at all. They should have let the people know. Keep the people in the loop. It is very, very important that they do that.
Yeah.
It is very, very, it is non-negotiable. It is key. Communication is key, and if they cannot do that, man, they failed in all ways.